Well, hello, everyone, and welcome once again to another episode of the 360 Experience podcast. And I'm your host, Tim Braheem. And today, I've got a real gift for you. Jeremy Forcier is my guest. What an incredible teacher he is. This is an episode that you want to listen to in its entirety. It is chock full of wisdom. It's beautiful. It's valuable. I can go on in my platitudes, and I'm not a platitude kind of person. It was really my honor to spend time with him. Jeremy Forcier is with Cross Country Mortgage. He is a senior vice president for the company. He is many, many times over $100 million producing loan originator. He leads loan originators. He is a mortgage business coach with the core, and just a very gifted teacher. And just buckle up and be ready to take a lot of notes. There's just so much wisdom and so much help that he provided in this conversation. Before we get to the conversation, I want to make sure that you know that we have a new email address that you can email to. It is 360 at theloanatlas.com, 360 at theloanatlas.com. And we'd love to hear from you, not only about this episode and what you thought about it, but maybe more importantly, what else you need help with. Like, are there any suggestions that you have of guests that you'd like me to interview? Speaking of having other guests, one of the best ways for me to be able to get great guests like Jeremy is to have as many subscribers as possible. So if you'd be so kind to subscribe, if you're not already a subscriber, just subscribe on your favorite podcast channel that you're watching and or listening to this to. If you like the episode, please give us a like. If you think somebody else would benefit from it, and by the way, in this particular episode, I think a lot of people would, including your realtor partners, forward it along to them and give them that gift of knowledge and wisdom that Jeremy brings to the conversation. And with that said, my friends, and without further ado, my conversation with Jeremy Forcier in the 360 Experience. You know, this is really cool for me, man, because I just talked to you for the first time in, I don't know, a decade.
For sure.
In person, at least, maybe more than that, when we were in Vegas at Mastermind, which, by the way, you did. I came up to you. I'm not the guy, you don't know me that well, but I'm not the guy that can just throw out platitudes to people. It's just not my thing. If I tell somebody that I thought that they were terrific, I really mean it. And you were terrific. I remember saying to you, thank you for really caring enough about the audience and bringing so much value to them. It was really a joy to watch you speak. And I'm super grateful to have you on the show and to catch up with you. I'm down here in Costa Rica right now. I know you know this place because many years ago, you did a little family trip down here and stayed at my former house. And gosh, we go way back to the Loan Toolbox days now. So that's 20 years or a little bit more, maybe, when you were a young pup in the industry. And from a very far distance, I've been able to watch you explode and grow. And it's going to be great to learn from you today. So thanks for being here. Let me just start by, in the intro, we talk a little bit about your pedigree, great originator for many years, great leader in the industry, senior vice president, I believe is your title with Cross Country. Is that right? That's
correct. Yeah.
So I want you to take me back to the beginning. Let's go back to when you started young. You were in your early 20s. You became an originator. Yeah. If you way back then, like, what are some of the things that you could reflect on that you think that were really the linchpins to your ultimate success? Like, what are, and let's make them applicable to today to the extent that they're not. Like let's find the applicability to today's bit. But tell us a little bit about what you did that allowed for you to generate the success as an originator you generated.
So thank you for having me on too. So, Tim was my OG mentor, like from afar. Like, I never worked with him directly, but I followed all of his teachings, et cetera. So to be on here with you, man, is really cool to come full circle. So it's interesting that you say that you've known me that long, because basically I met you within my first year of it being in the business. So I've been in the business 21 years as of this month. And so, that it does go back that far. And when I look back at like the beginning of the business and getting started, I was very lucky that I started in a time where we're on the tail end of, like, let's call it an easier time to originate, right? Like it was. where you had a great credit score. And if you had even any down payment, like you could basically get qualified. And so I came out of the gate like doing well, all things considered. But ultimately, that was what my downfall was because I didn't know anything. Like I thought an all day loan was an alt A loan. Like I thought it was just a loan that we did all day. For my first year and a half in the business, it was like, hey, let's quote me out on that all day loan. No, it's an alt A loan for alternative documentation. I didn't even know what that meant. So I think that looking back, though, something that really worked for me was that when you are newer in the industry, or if you're in a transitionary market like we have been in for the last year and a half, 2 years now, not having fear, it serves you really well. And like not having to know everything serves you really well if you really want to take care of people. And I've always been a people person. Like I love to, I used to be a people pleaser. Now I'm a recovered people pleaser. I still like to please them, but it's for them, not for me. Like all of these things that served me really well early on in my career. But the big one was just not being afraid to ask someone like, hey, how can I help you? Like, do you rent or do you own? I can help both. Like I remember being in Starbucks every day. I would go to Starbucks and I would just buy someone a cup of coffee for $1.10. They would say thank you. And I would say, hey, do you rent or do you own your house? Like simple stuff like that, like really just asking people if I could serve them early on in my career. And so I jump started pretty quickly back then and, wasn't afraid to ask to serve others. Now, the downside of that, of course, was that when you have no idea what you're doing and you have poor mentorship, which I think it's so important and applicable today too, Tim, is like mentorship matters more than ever right now, like to plug into good people who will be positive mentors that know what they're talking about and want to see you succeed. I mean, that is critical right now. I didn't really have that in my first handful of years in the business. I was told everything was a write-off. I was 24. I thought that was great. So I spent all my money because it was a write-off. Like, who cares? Like, I'm not going to have to pay taxes. And I didn't know anything. Like I didn't grow up from a financially crushing it family, so to speak. And so I figured out how to get rid of the money I was making very, very fast early on in my career. I didn't really learn about savings, budgeting, and things like that. But my big aha early on was when I realized I was a liability to other people, right? When I realized that, like, if I don't know how to give great advice, if I don't know how these loan programs really work, and if I don't know what the intended and unintended consequences are based on decisions that people are making, financing 100, 200, 300, 500, $1 million, that's a problem. And I think that's very applicable to today as well, with a lot of people maybe making recommendations because they're desperate and want to get a loan closed and really feel like they need the income or they need the volume, and not giving great advice to people that maybe shouldn't buy right now, or that maybe should look at budgeting a little bit more. And so when I look back at early on in my career, I would say not being afraid really pushed me forward fast. I would say that wanting to help others really pushed me forward fast, which I still feel to this day. I haven't been more fired up ever in my career than I am right now. But like making sure you have great mentorship, the people that you pursue, right? And you have to pursue great people. The people that you pursue will make all the difference in what your intermediate and long-term outcome will be. Not your short-term income, not your short-term results, but your intermediate and long-term results and your outcome are always going to be determined by the type of people that you decided to pursue, that you decided to invest your time in, and they decided to invest their time in you, and learn how to do things the right way and be patient, right? Be patient with growing the business, with the activities. So yeah, if I look back, man, it was just like ignorance on fire back then. And I guess ignorance on fire is better than knowledge on ice. But when you can combine those two things, and it couldn't be an easier time from a knowledge standpoint between AI and like how easy it is to find information, get questions answered. I think that it's a great opportunity. It reminds me a lot of like first time in the business, though, the same type of feelings, same type of activities, asking more people if you can help them.
Yeah, so you said so many things there that I want to unpack. I told you before we hit record that I didn't have any questions for you because I just kind of knew. After seeing you speak the other day, I was like, yeah, we're going to just have an easy flowing conversation here. So I want to dive into some. First of all, it's crazy to me really when you think about it, like how many people get into this business, and I was one of those people too, where I'm slinging loans and providing people with massive amounts of debt, and I don't really even know anything about financial planning. Like I don't even understand, money, and we're in the money business. We're in the business of providing or managing the debt side of the balance sheet for people. So let's start there. I
Yeah.
mean, this is a great awareness that you're sharing. There are a lot of new people in the business right now that probably fall into the category that you described, and even some people that have been in the business a while that fall into that category. Where would you recommend somebody go right now to become a student of money, so then they have the confidence to be able to provide the type of wisdom that is necessary to create separation from their competition at point of sale?
Wow, man, that is such a crazy loaded question because there are so many resources. So, like, before I tell you where I think you should go or some recommendations, I think that you have to explore curiosity. If you are not a curious person, become curious. You can learn it, like to become curious. Because if you're not curious about it and you feel that you just need to learn something that maybe necessarily you don't want to learn, like you're just not going to take it in the right way. So develop a little level of curiosity around how money works. I think that's really important. Places that I go, simple stuff. So there's this guy named Ramit. I forget his last name. He wrote a book called I'll Teach You to Be Rich. And I actually really love this book because he's actually this will be a common theme. I love people sometimes that are contrarian maybe to the industry that I'm in. Like, so he is kind of not anti owning a home, but like really owning a home like the right way if you're going to buy a house, right? And teaches some really simple principles on budgeting, on how you shouldn't sweat like the $3 Starbucks purchases, but you should really analyze like the $30,000 purchases, right? Like on cars and stuff like that. So I think that he does a really good job. I love his book. I've recommended it to so many people. Incredible book. He's got an incredible podcast. He has a Netflix show. But just to understand basic budgeting first is way more important than understanding like markets and like how that stuff works. I'm just talking about basic budgeting. So I think that NerdWallet is a great website that like I go to often, and even just using Perplexity, which is an AI app that I like to use a lot and ask questions about money and investing and best ways of budgeting or how to eliminate debt the fastest way. You can ask it really complex questions from a reasoning standpoint. But I would say just start with yourself. If you really wanted to learn, like do a budget yourself first. Forget going and looking at all these different sites and whatnot. Write down like how much money do you bring in on average on a monthly basis. And if you're commissioned like I am, like just do it over the last 6 months, right? And then look at like how much is your survival number, right? Which is something that, I've been taught and that I teach all the time. Your survival number is just your basic necessity needs for housing, food. Like if you have school that you pay for your kids, or if you have a car payment, if you have minimum debt payments, just what's your minimum survival number? And then look at another column and goes, well, what did I spend like balancing a checkbook last month? And look at where the gaps are. If you can just simply figure out your own money and because nothing's perfect. I have leaks all the time that I have to pay attention to. Sometimes I don't pay attention to them for long enough and it becomes like a bigger leak. I'm like, okay, I got to fix this. So, but paying attention to your own money is going to be the best teacher, ironically, outside of anywhere else that you can go learn things. But I really love like NerdWallet a lot. I like just reading anything that has to do with economies in general about money. I love to read about stock market. I'm no stock market expert or anything like that, but really when we're talking about what's applicable like in our business, honestly, it's budgeting. It's always budgeting. It's as simple as a personal P&L for every single one of your customers. And then understanding what's the relationship between budgeting and qualifying. And when we talk about qualifying, this is something I love to do with every single new client, new lead, new prospect, new person, is to understand like, what do you want? Are they looking to objective qualify to like the highest amount they can do? Or are they looking to qualify subjectively, which is what I prefer? And it's a great question for you to ask all of your clients is, hey, would you like to know just what the max you qualify for is, or would you like the subjective qualification, which is more tailored to you? Which one do you think they're always going to say? They're like, oh, well, the one that's tailored to me. And then you get to explain that objective qualifying is easy. I just tell you that this is how much you're approved for, but that has nothing to do with affordability. Affordability is really personal. And that's what I've learned through my failures as well early on in my career, going into crazy debt, all that stuff, is that just because you can get something or do something doesn't mean you should get something or do something. You have to figure out what your lifestyle looks like and what that planning looks like so that you can make really good financial decisions. And when you start making those decisions personally, you can share real experience with other people and help them make great decisions as well.
I saw Barry speak, I don't know, at least a decade ago now. He was at Mastermind and he posed a question to the audience and he said, or it wasn't really a question, it was a statement. He said, what you really are going for here is to get the person that you're selling to, that you're educating, to ask themselves the question, what am I going to miss out on if I don't work with him or her?
Right.
And that question can only come from one place, which is you've taught them something that they didn't know prior to speaking with you. That's the natural affect of that question is, or that experience is to ask that question. And what I really loved about what you just shared there is that by asking for the objective or subjective viewpoint and then picking the subjective viewpoint, it actually tees you up to now display your value proposition, which is to help customize and tailor a specific financial structure for them that is going to suit them and their family, which at the end of the day, I would guess some large percentage of the time, we'll call it 75% or higher, the person that you're talking to really is truly wanting to make a good financial decision for their family because that's the role they're playing, which is why they're in the conversation with you and they're nervous about it, right? And
Totally.
I think that you also put yourself into a really great position there with that scripting, right? By the way, to the extent that you don't already say this, what I would say is, most people that do what I do for a living are not going to take this approach with you. They're going to share with you only the objective, how much is the max you can qualify for. And I don't want to make that same mistake because I've seen it happen time and time again where people get excited and then they bite off more than they can chew. And my role in your life is to be someone who helps advise you on an ongoing basis to make prudent financial decisions. Now, you just came up, it's always fun in these conversations where I don't know where they're going to go. And especially you where we don't have like an intensely intimate relationship. So I had no idea you're going to bring up the word curiosity, but it's the word that I have said hundreds of times to my clients that I think is probably one of the most underestimated and important words in the English language. It's a major virtue, right? Because within curiosity is the seedlings of growth and evolution. And most of us are curious as children, and that's why we learn and grow so rapidly. Then when we get into our adult life, we become very rigid and fixated into our viewpoint. So let's unpack that a little, because I think you're on something super important there, which is how does one in your mind evoke curiosity, which is such a beautiful quality in a human being? Like, what would you suggest there?
Yeah, well, lots of people take curiosity like the wrong way. They think that they have to have such a strong opinion and know something and to be the expert. What I find is that the more open that I can be to not being right, but to just wanting information to ponder and take a different viewpoint from it. Some people might call it devil's advocate. But I really think that if you want to grow, like, you can't always think how you think. Like, you have to put yourself in someone else's shoes and look at it from their side of the street. And if you're not curious about that, you're going to lack connection, like in all your relationships. But definitely in a sales environment relationship, because you're just not going to be able to connect because it's going to be like you versus them all the time. So for me, curiosity, and I've always been curious, for the record, right? So I do believe it can be a learned behavior. I've worked on it with a number of people that work with me for a long time. It's a forever process, but I am naturally curious. So I should say that. But I find that if you can just take 1 second before you ever want to respond to something where you think you're 100% right, and ask this question. Hey, you know what? I'm curious about what you just said. Could you expand? So rather than you responding, if you said to me, Tim, like something that I was like, oh, I don't agree with that. Like I'm going to go in like in debate. And instead, if I just took one step back and said, you know what? That's interesting. Like I'm curious about that. So saying I'm curious over and over and over again can train your brain because your brain believes what you say. And you can train your brain to become more open to being curious. And then you get more information. And the more information that you get, you can actually make a better opinion rather than an assumption. So I hate assumptions. And I say that all the time with people that I'm working with, whether it's loan officers that work with me or whether it's my clients directly, is I say it out loud on purpose because I tend to assume a lot. I'm a fast thinker. I'm oftentimes like the guy who's, like, okay, now I know the answer to this. And I've trained myself to not do that probably like 85% of the time now. I'm getting high up there, but it's a natural thing for me to want to do to like, oh my gosh, I know how I can help this person. But actually just staying in the pocket and saying something like, Tim, I don't want to assume anything. Did I just hear you say, and then you repeat back what they said? That is a form of curiosity too. Like, so anything that like I'm weak at, I'm not necessarily trying to get better at it. I'm trying to be aware of it. And when you're aware of it, you actually will just naturally get better at it, but just call it out. So I think that's the easiest way to, there's not a book that I've read on it or anything like that. But it's just saying it out loud, saying the thing out loud that you actually want to happen more. And usually the universe just brings it right to you.
Well, and the thing is as I'm listening to you share what you're sharing, what I'm hearing you say is that you're also having to check your ego
all the time,
right? Yeah. Because the thing, and it's tricky because the environment that we're in the financial advice business is that of quote unquote advice, right? Like we buy into a story that they're here to learn from us and our expertise. And to some extent, they definitely are, but there's a time and place for that. It's almost like first start with being curious and make sure that you understand what this person's real needs are, what their fears are, what their hot buttons are. By asking a lot of good open-ended questions and being curious with it, and then coming in from a place of opinion and advice that's going to be well formulated rather than just a shotgun approach.
100%. Like, let me give you a great example. So this is what I do every time with a brand new. So I still talk to every single client up front before they ever apply for anything. Like that's probably where I'm most involved in my personal production business is before anything happens. I find that if I'm involved before anything happens, I need to be involved very little, actually, like once something happens. But the question that I always start with after, a minute of chit chat and honoring however I got introduced to them is this simple question that creates curiosity and listening is, hey, Tim, that's awesome. So, hey, tell me your story, the whole story. That's all I say. Tell me the story, the whole story. Start wherever you want. And you shut up. When you tell someone to tell you the story, the whole story, guess what you get? You freaking get the whole story. They actually will tell you. It opens them up to telling you all kinds of stuff about their situation. I have to ask way less questions, ironically, these days, because of just changing the way that I went about my initial, call it interview process with a client, is just asking them, hey, tell me the story, the whole story. How can I help you? I want to know everything. Just tell me everything. I'm going to take great notes and I'll definitely ask clarifying questions. If you just do that, they will lay it all out for you 100%. And then you can ask really good expertise questions because you were present and they actually told you everything. And that's where you can show your expertise. Right, is by listening. You have to be a fantastic note taker, by the way, in 2025. If you're not, just figure it out. Like you have to be a great note taker and you don't even have to take notes anymore. There's so many different AI services. Like I use Plod, for example, is one of my transcription service that I use that allows me to be so present in any meeting that I don't even have to miss something because I was typing or trying to write something down. So I would say that if you could just have an opening statement that will make the other person feel comfortable enough to share 100% openly, however comfortable they feel sharing, you will be curious anyway, because you're going to get so much information to work with.
And they will feel seen.
100%. Yeah.
And when someone feels seen, they're automatically drawn to you. And it's a totally different experience than they have in most other cases. And I would imagine that you probably take a very similar approach with referral partners, such as real estate agents, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. 100%.
I mean, it took me, I don't know, half my career to figure that one out, by the way. Like for the first, half of my career, I'm going in hot with a realtor meeting because I'm just so excited to be there. And I'm, rolling out all of my bells and whistles and value propositions, which they've heard from everybody else, by the way. And then when I finally realized that if I just go in and just get to know them and just make it all about them and see them and ask them what's important to them, they're going to want to have a second meeting.
Yeah.
But we buy into this story that we've got one shot. Like we've got to close this person and convince this person in the first deal. And what we don't realize that we're doing is we're severing connection and actually pushing people away and making people feel very skeptical of us. So you've already mentioned AI. Let's go there a little bit more.
Yeah.
So are you familiar with an AI tool called Reader? No, not Reader. Yeah. Is it Reader?
I'm not.
No, it's Read. I think it's Read. I'm going to screw that up. I just heard about it, but basically it's a tool that is a storehouse for all communication that you have with an individual. So let's just hypothetically say you're a prospective client of mine, and we'll get in the show notes, we'll get the name of the book that Jeremy was referencing, and I'll get the name of this tool so people don't have to go searching for it. But basically, like every text you send, every email you send, every conversation you have is housed in this profile that is my conversations with Jeremy. And then you train the tool to extract any of the information from it that you would want to know about. So what are their kids' names? How many animals do they have? What's their appetite for investment? Are they conservative, moderate, aggressive? You just build out the prompts. And when you're done with the conversation, it will craft the emails for you that will say, hey, it was really nice to talk with you today, Jeremy. And based upon our conversation, here's some of the things that I heard you say that I think sounded like they were very important to you. And then, of course, you're going to proofread it and modify it and massage it a little bit. But to your point, this allows for you to be fully present and engaged and to have them feeling your presence in the conversation versus you having to multitask and take notes. And it's like, how many times, back to your issue of curiosity, and this is the learned behavior part that I think needs to be broken, but like how many times are we all engaged in a conversation where somebody else is talking and we're thinking about what we want to say next?
Oh my God.
Hearing anything that they're saying. Elaborate on that further.
Dude, you're like poking all my pet peeves today. So that is a huge pet peeve of mine in general. And it's probably a pet peeve of mine because I was like that for a long time. And I found that like most things that like really bother me right now is usually something that like I realized I did for a long time and had no self-awareness around it. And so now that's why it bothers me. So I train on this a lot about not waiting for your turn to talk, right? So that you can actually be present. And I don't know how else to summarize it besides that it's pure magic. And if you're not curious about having pure magic happen in your relationships and in your connections, like you're just in the wrong line of work. Like I really mean that. Like if you can really understand that no one's looking for you to solve any problem or tell them what to do in the moment that they're sharing something with you, especially if it is happy or sad or mad or they're scared, any type of heightened emotion, something that someone is sharing with you, they actually are never looking for you to fix it ever, like in that moment. And that goes for home buyers, right? And realtors who are freaked out right now. So if you can literally just stay in the pocket present and you don't have to respond and you don't have to fill quiet pause space with noise like all the time, your relationships will get richer and you will actually like benefit a lot in your business, but you'll benefit personally too. Like the connections that I have right now, man, I don't know how to describe it besides like I will help anyone that wants help, but I really choose who I work with at at this point in time in my career. I'll still help anyone that says that they want help, but I'm going to choose people that like want to be in a real relationship and that want to have real conversations, not just talk about anything to hear their voice. And I have I have plenty of friends that suffer from this affliction of feeling like it's their turn to talk. And what you get with that is you get over talking. And then if you get a couple people having drinks that are, if you're like this, by the way, and you're listening to it, if you have a few drinks and you're waiting for your turn to talk all the time, what happens eventually is that you're having two separate, completely different conversations. I've seen it 5 million times, and no one's actually listening to each other. It's like you're talking at each other, but no one is communicating. Like no one's actually talking to each other. And that's what happens if you are trying to, it's like mirroring. I don't believe in mirroring anymore. Mirroring is the dumbest thing that I've had to unlearn, right? Of mirroring the other person. Yes, you can mirror energy, of course, if you need to like bring yourself down to meet people where they are. That's different. But like trying to mirror, that's you thinking strategically while they're talking of, well, okay, I think like if I'd said this, this is how they think, and then they'll say yes to this. Like you're just not doing the other person any type of service, and you're doing yourself a disservice by not actually listening and taking the time to understand what people's fears are, concerns are, what's their excitement points, like what gets them lit up, like what, how can you help them maybe see a blind spot that they aren't seeing right now. You're going to miss all of that if you are always trying to think of what can I do to win. Okay. And I used to think like that. Like I want to win no matter what. Like I used to say that, it used to be an affirmation, and I've changed all of that. Like winning doesn't matter. Like you win when the other person has clarity and they're confident. That's how you win in relationships and in conversations. If you can create comfort, clarity, and confidence in the other person, like that's what winning looks like in 2025 to me.
So you've brought up the term self-awareness. It's like one of the most gorgeous qualities that I think a human being can possess is the ability to reflect inwardly and to look at their stuff and to get really honest with themselves as to maybe some of the things that they're doing that are not serving them and other people in their life. How did you get orientated to the phrase self-awareness, and what are some of the things that you've done to practice becoming more self-aware?
Okay, so the practice part is probably easier than the how I got turned on to it. So I've always realized that I've always been driven. Okay. I've been driven my whole life. But I was driven for all the wrong reasons for a long time. And I was driven by fear. I was driven by chip on my shoulder because I was always told that I wasn't good enough. I wasn't tall enough. I wasn't strong enough. I wasn't smart enough. I'm not great with English, like words, linguistics. And I remember that from a young age on. And I always like took that on as a big chip on my shoulder. And I didn't have self-awareness back then. I didn't know that's what it was, but I was really doing it for other people, at the end of the day. And I didn't see myself the same way other people see me. And there was a huge disconnect. And, I don't know how I got turned on to self-awareness. I don't know if it was psychedelics, honestly, or like what it was, but like I do know that I had a feeling that recurred, call it a few times a year, where I just felt like a fraud. Like I felt burnt out. I felt not great about myself. I felt unconfident. I felt really small, like just like I didn't feel good about who I was in the world versus what I projected in the world. And I don't remember how I got there exactly, honestly. But I do remember reading books like Think and Grow Rich, like even early on in my career, and having this idea of, having a fantasy mastermind of people that you respect and what type of qualities they possess and what do you want to possess. And I've just dove into it. But the exercise that has really created the most self-awareness for me personally is I've done a 5-minute journal every day for 9 years now, something like something so simple. By the way, if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, journaling sounds like a task, it's called the 5-minute journal. Like it's literally 5 minutes, right? And I think that has created so much self-awareness for me because I will write things down sometimes that I'm grateful for, or things that would make today great, or affirmations that I'll look back like a year later and go, whoa, like I was really projecting there. Like I was not, that's not who I was. And so I think that just writing has really helped me a lot, like thoughts. And from a business standpoint, just so everyone, whoever's listening to this, right, is that I did a really cool exercise like 6 years ago, right before COVID, where I emailed out 100 clients and 100 referral partners that had used me in the last 12 months, asking basically like, to describe like why they work with me, or what are the attributes, right, that they like about me. And I thought it was always going to be, I throw a lot of events, I'm fun, I'm calm under pressure. And what was I'm charismatic. These are the things that like just I thought of what was attractive, right, to me. And what was shocking is that 88% of what came back was that whatever Jeremy says he's going to do, he does it. 88%. And I was like, whoa, holy disconnect, self-awareness. Like I thought that people were using me because of all these things I was doing and my marketing and like all this stuff. And it turns out that they were just like, if Jeremy says it's going to get done, it's going to get done. Jeremy always does what he says, no matter what. And so when I learned that, just through that exercise, combined with the journal and self-awareness, little therapy as well, of being able to step back and receive feedback, okay? Like actual receive real feedback, and not take it as a personal attack. The Four Agreements is one of my favorite books of all time. I read it every January for the last 14 years. And being able to like not take anything personal, right? But take actual information and take inventory, and then take control of, well, okay, if I don't like that, what do I need to change? Right. And be open to pursuing that change. So I don't remember specifically like what happened to me, but I do know that those two things have had a significant impact on me, and that it's a lot easier for me now to be aware. And when you become really self-aware, it's actually easier for me to sniff out like fakes now too. like just the truth, because I'm more self-aware of my previous fraudulentness with myself, so to speak, my identity. And now that like I really feel, and by the way, I'm never going to be 100%. I want to make that clear, you guys. I am not up here grandstanding. I last night like had a conversation with someone late last night, a good friend who is going through some really transformational, awesome stuff. And we were talking about fear. And I had to bring up that I was like, yeah, like I realized that like I still live in way more fear than I thought. Like I was self-aware about it. I've gotten so much better, but holy crap, like there's still fear that paralyzes me like all the time. So just being open to feedback, being open to feelings, but then naming what you feel, or what the problem is, name it, and then attack it. Like making just micro actions and not waiting, not avoiding and carrying it with you all the time, of wanting to be better, things you want to change, just like taking a little bit of action every day. I think the 5-minute journal is like the easiest way to create self-awareness for sure.
What I'm hearing you say is that it wasn't an event. So
No.
it's a process, and it's
Yeah.
a continual process of looking inward and getting real with yourself. And I think that does require, and it sounds like you've done, you mentioned psychedelics, you mentioned therapy. It requires stepping outside of your life on a consistent basis, being reflective. I want to ask a question about this really awesome thing that you did during COVID, where you sent these 100 emails to past clients and referral partners. That took some bravery, right?
Yeah.
Like there has to be some people sitting here listening to this going, oh, I don't think I could ever do that, because the natural tendency would be afraid. First of all, I think the initial tendency might be to think like I'm burdening someone by asking them to share feedback with me.
Right.
Second feeling would be I'm afraid of what I'm going to get in return if I get some honest feedback and whether I'll be able to handle it or not. Was it, did you get any feedback that was, you're
Yeah,
laughing?
man. I was scared, by the way. So like I definitely believe that just because you're afraid of doing something doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. Like so I was scared to do it for the record. Like I wasn't like gung ho about this idea, but I really was gung ho about understanding what is my real brand, which is who I am versus what I think I'm creating my brand to be. And that's why I did it originally. But yeah, I was petrified. I was like hoping no one would respond. This is my inner scared kid, right? That's just like, you're okay. You're great. Everything's fine. No one, maybe no one will respond. Maybe you'll get their voicemail, whatever it is. And I was definitely really scared. And I certainly got some feedback that stung. Like some examples would be sometimes can be very short, sometimes can seem aloof, right? And that like, it hurts me to say it, like even now, like aloof. Oh God, I hate that in people. Like I didn't like that, or didn't listen to what my needs were all the time. Like even though we got the result, right? Like didn't listen necessarily to what the needs were, and they were very minor, by the way, compared to like the good stuff, honestly, but you remember the stuff that stings like the most. And I didn't like it. I didn't like the fact that people felt passed off a lot too, like not taken care of unless they were talking to me because I have a team, right? And like things like that really bothered me. And it made me realize that, like, okay, I got to train the team better too. Like, I need to do this type of stuff with my operational people, like to grow personally as well and to want to be engaged and want to be curious. So, yeah, you're going to have fear, but feel the fear and do it anyway. Like, there is nothing like honest feedback. And I would highly recommend, if you're going to start to ask for honest feedback, start with people that you care about and that care about you first. Like that would be, if we're going to go steps on like how to create some self-awareness and get some feedback that might sting, might not, start with people that you're in a great relationship with first, because even though it might feel like it stings a little bit more from them, they're going to be kind to you, and they are also like telling you the truth. Like they are literally telling you the truth. It's not like you just, we all have deals in this line of work in mortgage and real estate where there's nothing you could have done and it was a nightmare, and it wasn't totally your fault, still your problem, by the way, to deal with. But like, I'm not saying pay attention to feedback like that, but paying attention to feedback from people that you respect, like, is really, really, really important, because it's usually pretty spot on.
What a gift too, right? Like, I mean, we have to, like, if we go back to the word curiosity, so
Yeah.
you're embodying it. I mean, that's like curiosity in the face of fear, right? Is
Yeah.
what we're talking about here, because you want to be better. You want to continue to grow and evolve. And what a gift it was for those people to share that feedback with you, because they gave you information that you could work with to help you learn and grow and become a better, more well-rounded business person and human being. So, wow, just
Yeah. What's great, Tim, is like talking now to people that are in like a stressful situation. Like I always encourage all of my partners to, if they're having a hard transaction, which I ask all the time, I don't ask about, hey, do you have anyone I could help? It's like, hey, what's a hard deal that you have right now? Anything going wrong? And I don't tell them like, hey, get me that deal, right? Like you should let me talk to them. I just tell them like, hey, here's what I would recommend. If you're open-minded to this, why don't you just introduce me to the client, and maybe I can just give them some advice that will help their current person, help them close the transaction. And, maybe, right, even the person will just be impressed, and that I will get it done. If I say I can do it, I'll get it done. And if I say it can be done, I can help the other person get it done. So I've learned to communicate now through the feedback that I got, and my conversion goes up, right? Because that's what I've been told by the world, that is a big value add that I bring, that I totally didn't see. I just figured everyone works really hard and everyone says that they can get it done, and I was trying to be different. Well, it turns out different is just who you are, right? And it's how you make people feel. So it teaches you how to communicate correctly too. And also, my wife has probably been like my biggest trainer on self-awareness at the end of the day. And we're in the best relationship like ever. Like, and we've been married 23 years and I'm 45, right? So we've been married since we were kids, which doesn't happen. But she is not afraid to give feedback. Okay. Like, she has never been afraid to give feedback. And she compliments me though too all the time, that like how open I am to the feedback, not in a cowering way, like not in a like you're right, or not in a condescending way, but really from a point of like, okay, yeah, let me put myself in your shoes. Let's not defend. And the really, guess what? We have a great relationship. We're each other's best friends. Like we're really connected. So getting feedback is critical if you want to make change. And if you don't want to make change, just be happy with being miserable. Because if you're not changing, you're going to be miserable at some point. We're either all going into a storm, we're in the middle of a storm, or we're coming out of a storm. 100% of the time, we're in one of those three categories in our life, whether it's personal, professional, both, kids, sickness, money, up, down, whatever it is, we're always in one of those three. So if you're not prepared to deal with that, and you need to be, but you need really good feedback, like from outside of yourself, to be able to see yourself how others see you, so you can work on you.
So I'm going to transition just slightly to business here for a minute.
Yeah.
Not that I'm not thoroughly enjoying the kind of interpersonal realm of this conversation, but I think we can probably fuse the two into one. So
let's do it.
Right now, if originators out there are struggling with generating leads, I think you have some suggestions as to how to create warm leads and warm introduction. I mean, you gave the example earlier about buying somebody a cup of coffee. I mean, it's such a beautiful example. I mean,
yeah.
It's so simple, right? You buy somebody a cup of coffee and then you just introduce yourself and you see where it goes from there. I mean, you can't win the game if you don't put yourself on in the playing field.
100%.
So what would you recommend to originators right now who are saying, I just don't have enough lead flow, I don't have enough referral sources? What are, maybe they feel like, I don't know what to say if I'm calling my database because they're all locked in at 3.25%. Like,
oh my God, I love this. This is great. Awesome. This is freaking amazing. So you have to stay in touch with your database. Let's just start with database segment first. Okay. So if you have any closed clients, right, that have ever raised their hand and they chose you have to remember that they chose you. They could have worked with, there's a million people that do loans, that sell real estate. They chose you. And we all like to say or infer that we are in a relationship game, right? Well, guess what? If you're in a relationship game and you're in the client for life, which is what, I've said forever. I think I learned it from Tim like 20 years ago, like client for life. That means for life, man. Like, that doesn't mean just because you don't have an opportunity that you don't reach out to them. And we super discount like the connection aspect of being in touch with our database. So let's just say that everyone in your database literally has 3%. Okay. Every single person has 3% in your database. Like, I would literally call them every single year anyway for an annual review. And I would ask them, I have 5 questions. I'm happy to send it to Tim. There's 5 questions, 7 questions now that I ask, right? And I already have all their data. I know what they have, but you will uncover opportunities. So for example, if someone says, nope, I'm not looking to refinance, like one of my questions is, hey, if you could refinance, I learned this from Tim. Hey, if you could refinance at no cost and save money for free, would you be interested? It's one of my questions every time. Everyone says yes, but everyone with the 3%, 4% rate, of course, says, I don't think I'm ever getting rid of this rate, until I die. Well, that gives like a really good conversation piece where I get to call them and go, hey, Tim, I reviewed all your notes from the annual review. And listen, dude, I am so stoked that we were able to get you that 3% interest rate. Like back in 2021, could you imagine if we waited and we thought that things were going to go down further and things went up to 5, 6, 7.5%? So like, I'm so happy that I got the opportunity to serve you on that level. Like, and if you know anyone else that's looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate this year, whether they're moving because they're relocating or getting married or divorced or whatever it may be, I would love an introduction to them. I know that you're good, but could you do me a favor and help me out and introduce me to someone who is going to do something this year? Super simple script. And guess what they always say? Oh, I'd love to, because you just said, I loved helping you get this rate. I know I can't help you right now. Can you help me? And you just have to be open to asking for help rather than asking for a referral. There is a big difference. I ask for help all the time. Like I don't like asking for help in general, for the record, but I've gotten used to like going, hey, if I'm asking for something, really, I'm asking for help. Why not just call it what it is? So reach out to your database, ask them like these really simple questions, right? Has anything changed at home in the last 12 months as far as your income or your employment? Right. The second question is, have you done anything to your home as far as remodeling, construction, or do you have plans to do that? Right. The third question is, are you carrying any unwanted debt currently? Right. That you would like to get rid of. Right. The next question is, do you have any plans, to buy or sell real estate? How long do you think you're going to be staying in this home? Next question is, I could keep going, but it's if you could save money, on a no cost refinance, would that be interesting to you? Right. The next question is, do you have any other questions about mortgage or real estate or anything that's going on in the market? So I call these people and people don't pick up the phone like they used to, you guys. So I call them and leave them a message. Then I send them the email, right? That is like, because in the message I say, hey, I'm going to send you a quick email. It's for your annual review. If you could please take 2 minutes and fill it out and get it back to me, that would be great. I'm going to look it over and make sure that you're good to go, right? And then I send them a text after I left the voicemail, sent the email. Hey, I just sent you. You guys, it's magic. I have 3 on my phone right now that I could show you that they respond to the text. Oh my gosh, thank you. It's so great to hear from you. Yes, we'd love to get caught up. I'll fill it out right away. Well, 2 of them filled it out last night based on this prompting. One of them, right, wants to take out a $180,000 fixed rate second, right? Because they want to do a home remodel and they're kind of strapped on cash right now because of the markets and their jobs and they're in tech and they're worried. I wouldn't have got any of that information if I just left a voicemail and said, call me back. I wouldn't have got any of that information if I didn't reach out at all. I don't even think I would have got it if I just sent the email without sending the follow-up text that I really want to connect with you. I just sent you this. Okay, so staying in touch with your database is critical. 50%, like 48-ish% of all of my loans I've closed this year have been referrals from my past clients. So think about that for a second. Like referral, so over, almost $68 million of personal production this year, like so far, has been referrals from my past clients to their kids. I have one sitting in here right when I got on Zoom with you, Tim. Like there was like someone, Bevan, they were like, hey, you helped out our parents, a year and a half ago. We've done a bunch of research on our own, but we would really love your expertise. We heard that you have great perspective. Stay in touch with your past clients, but you have to call them. You have to text them. You have to throw events for them. And I'm not talking crazy expensive events, like gratitude parties is what I call it. Gratitude parties. We do 2 every year where we invite all of our past clients. We tell them to bring friends. Hey, this is for you. Feel free to bring a friend 2 or 3, right? We're going to have pizzas, appetizers at a pub. Old Kaz Brewery was the last one that we did, right? It's not expensive. It's like less than $1,000 for like 75 people that came. So staying in touch with them is critical because people have life events and people will not reach out to you when they feel shame or embarrassment about their life events. But they will share it with you if you proactively reach out and you can find opportunities on how to help them, whether it's through divorce or they have $80,000 of credit card debt. Like when you say client for life, you better mean it is my point. Okay. So there's lots of nuggets in there as far as your database goes.
Before you transition to the next topic, I want to comment on a few things that you said, and that was brilliant, by the way. So the first thing is when you had shared, I never thought of this before, but when you had shared, I'm a student of psychology, so I'm always thinking at things through that lens. So when you had shared that people want, when you ask them for help versus a referral, first of all, psychologically on your end, it's a little bit harder to do is to ask for help because we can buy into a story, which is just a story that somehow we're displaying a weakness that we need help.
100%.
So
yeah.
You have to dispel that myth. I mean, you don't have to believe everything you think. Just because you think it doesn't mean it's real or true.
Well, but yeah, that's really good. Continue on.
Beyond that, I think psychologically, there's something really important that you shared there. If you're asking me for help, that's very different from my experience than asking me for a referral. When you ask me for help, by nature, human beings like to help other people.
Exactly.
That's what service is.
Yes.
So you're giving me an opportunity to serve you, which is a very different phraseology in the languaging. It may not seem significant, but I believe I want to help people as a human being. A referral just feels a little bit more transactional. It doesn't feel like I'm helping you. It feels like I have to now think of somebody that might need your services versus, oh, this guy, Jeremy, that as you pointed out to them, I am so thrilled that we got you locked in at 3%. He needs my help and I want to reciprocate. The law of reciprocity is a very important thing. I know that you know about it because you probably saw Cialdini speak at the event,
one of the best speakers all time. Yeah.
Of all time.
Yeah.
And that's what you're doing there. So that's the first thing. Another thing is I say this to people all the time when I'm teaching on the subject matter of database management is they say, well, I don't know what to say. They're all locked in at 2 7/8, 3 3 1/4. I say, yeah, I know. That's tough script. Like I don't have a script for you on that. But might it be that it's a tough script because you're making it about you?
Exactly.
You see, if your approach is, how can I figure out a way to get somebody to do a loan with me right now out of my own desperation, and they're locked in at 3 1/4, and you're looking at your computer screen and seeing that rate, yeah, you're going to get locked up on your scripting. But what if you didn't make it about you? What if that were not the intention of the call? What if the intention of the call were to nurture the connection? Yeah. So when they do have a need, they feel safe with you. You're going to be top of mind consciousness, the first person they think of. They're going to send their kids to you, as you articulated, et cetera. So everybody needs to go through a gut check there on that one, which is, are you coming from your egoic perspective of trying to figure out how to convince this person to do something that may not make sense for them to do right now, which is like an impossible script? Yeah. Or are you going at it from a perspective of serving them and trying to help them? And then finally, Craig Strent, do you know Craig, by the way?
No, I don't.
So Craig's the head of faculty for the Loan Atlas, and he's said this a million times in the last couple of years, and I think it's really a great point, which is every time you call a client and do that financial review with them and tell them you're watching rates for them, and based upon the circumstances that they're in right now with the $22,000 in credit card debt and the one auto loan and the fact that they're locked in at 3 1/4, it's not the right time to move forward. Every time you tell them it's not the right time to move forward, you build credibility with them. So when it is the right time to move forward, 2 years from now, when rates hit 5 1/4, they're going to heed to your advice because you have displayed that you truly care about what's in their best interest and that this is not a sales call where you're looking to serve yourself. So yes. Don't underestimate the importance of the many times that you've told them, you're good, there's nothing we should do right now, don't worry, I'm watching it. That's going to pay dividends for you in the long run. Any comments on that before we move to?
Yeah, dude, you're just so good with words. What he said, you guys, like that is it. You're making deposits, right? You're making deposits. You're not making withdrawals every time you go to the bank. Like you're making deposits over and over and over again to build wealth, and wealth in this scenario is relationship connection, right? Like you're building that. And asking for help, let's go back to that because you were like that. Yes, it was harder for me to get used to. But what I realized is that now it's become way easier because I would way rather ask for help than a referral because I like being in relationships. So I don't mind asking for help like at all. And innately, all human beings want to help. Like for the most part, generally speaking, they want to be helpful. I want to be helpful when someone asks for help. So don't be afraid, to do that. And if you noticed in my annual review questions, Tim, like there is a reason why I formatted the questions the way I did is because it makes it easy for people to fill out and it gives you all the information to see what opportunities are without selling someone on an opportunity, right? So for example, if someone's like, yeah, I'm carrying, a car loan and $40,000 of credit card debt, right? One of those came over last week. I looked up their loan, 2 1/4%, 15-year fixed, right? And so instead I was like, listen, I think there's a way to consolidate, your debt without touching your current loan. Would you be open-minded to looking at that and saving $700 a month? Yes, I would love to. Cool. So yeah, it was only a $70,000 fixed rate home equity loan, but that's what good advice is. Like, don't get rid of the 2 1/4%. You only owe $200,000, right? And you need 70,000, but you're going to save 700 a month. Like, show people like that there are possibilities. Now, yeah,
And you just served them again,
yeah,
and you're maintaining the relationship, because if you didn't offer that, they may go to their credit union, and then the next
yep.
thing you know, when it is time for them to buy a new home, maybe they go back to their credit union. So you're also building in some insurance there that you're going to continue to be their go-to person.
100%, man. And the questions are outlined in a way so that I'm looking for opportunities to serve them. That's it. Those are all the questions are. It's not so I get a loan. The byproduct might be that I can get a loan, but it's so that like I know that these are always critical moving parts. Employment is critical moving part. Are you making more or less? Are you retiring, et cetera? Right? That's a critical part. Debt is a critical part. Why not ask about it? Are you carrying any unwanted debt? Right? Are you planning on moving in the next 2 to 5 years? If the answer is yes, hey, maybe we want to take a look at selling right now because I don't really buy into this. Rates are going to go down and prices are going to skyrocket up. I think that we're going to be in a depressed, weird market for the next few years. I just believe that. Like maybe it makes more sense to look at selling it now. So there's just you have to ask questions that will give you information so you can serve the other person rather than like, what am I going to get from it?
Right on. Okay, let's take a moment to just address back to the origin question, which is, if I'm a loan originator right now, let's say I don't have a very big database of people to call because I've only been in the business for a couple of years and I don't have enough lead flow. What are some easy ways to get warm leads right now?
Yeah. So here are my top 3 ways to get easy warm leads right now. Number one is create a list. Okay. Pretend that you're getting married. So this doesn't matter if you're married right now or if you're single and you're not married and you don't have a girlfriend or boyfriend or anything, partner or anything like that. And just on this list, write a fantasy wedding list, meaning that you have unlimited budget and you can fricking spend as much money as you want. You can invite as many people as you want. So friends, family, friendly acquaintances, people from your past, make this gigantic list and you are going to reach out to every single one of those people and you're going to make sure that they know what you do for a living and you're going to ask them for help. Like, so it's really, really simple. I assign this all the time to LOs that are having issues like generating leads. I'm like, listen, you have to call your sphere of influence or people that you like or that you want to pursue. You have to do that. And then you just ask them simple questions like, listen, do you have a mortgage? If you do, can I do an annual review for you to see where you were at? You can create, I think Kai McBride said this a long time ago, orphan loans, something like that. I remember from years ago where he's like, you can take someone else's loan and now it's in your database and you're managing that debt,
Yeah,
right? So
adopting a loan is what
yeah,
we.
adopting, there you go, adopting the loan, right? So that's one. It works. The big one for me that I've done really well with in the last year, and my loan officers are having success with, is that any realtor that they are working with or have worked with, meaning that realtors in my market, man, are just dead. That's the truth. And I think it's like that a lot of markets. Everyone's down a lot. There's some that are crushing, but for the most part, way down. Well, if you worked with them in the past and you work with them currently and you're in a good relationship, call and ask them who are 2 or 3 agents that you think are awesome, that you just think are great people, great agents. They will give you the names of who they like to work with. And then you ask them to do a 3-way text introduction. If you could do a 3-way text introduction, that would be great. Just saying that, we were talking about them and that you think that we should know each other. I would love that. And I would so appreciate that. So I've gotten introduced to like 30 odd agents over the last 12 months just by doing that. And when you have it, what you're doing is you're trying to when you're not forcing, you're creating introduction, right? Rather than a suggestion. Because if I'm introduced to Tim via text and Jennifer said, hey, Jeremy, I would like to introduce you to Tim. He's a great guy, et cetera, et cetera. I really think that you guys should just know each other. I think it'd be a good connection for you. I 100% of the time, because I'm in a relationship with Jennifer, am going to make sure that I honor Jennifer and respond to Tim. And 100% of the time. Like, so that's a really easy way to get relationship contacts, right, in this market. Now, as far as leads go, like if you're calling realtors, real estate agents, et cetera, I would definitely not go with like, hey, where are you having your success right now in the market? I would focus on pain, like from a genuine place, by the way, not to create fear, right? Not to create fear for them, but from a genuine place. Like ask them like, hey, where are you struggling right now in the market? Like, what do you see? Like, are you having are your buyers struggling? Are you struggling with listings or buyers? Like, where do you think there's pain points that I can come up with some ideas that I think might really help you? Like those conversations are going a long way for me. Just got a call this week I use Jennifer as an example. So she's a realtor that I work with, right? I haven't done a transaction with her in like 7, 8 months. She's awesome. She's just dead. And I call her anyway, because we're in a relationship, every few weeks. She's on my text updates, et cetera. And I, connected with her. We just talked for a little bit. She's hanging in there. Well, she called me yesterday and was like, hey, I'm listing this house, but it's VA and what needs to be fixed. There's this weird thing. He kind of wants to sell it to the neighbor. And she's calling me for advice on a pain point because that's what I'm telling people to bring to me, right? Like, bring me your pain. Like, I want to help you figure it out so it's less painful. So I helped her structure the whole thing. This is what I would do. I would actually just sell it to him at this price. If he comes to the market, he's not going to get more than that. Like, all these things are going to have to be fixed. But if they're working together, like, we can get them all fixed, but you want to make sure you work with the right person. I'd be more than happy to talk to them if you think it's appropriate, but here's the structure and here's what I would do. Super grateful. Introduced me to the person, and maybe we'll work together. Maybe we won't because it's got hair on it. But like, the point is that ask about like what they're struggling with and ask where you can help them rather than guess where you think you're going to be valuable. I've gotten better at, rather than thinking, where can I be valuable for this person? Just asking them, where do you need help? Where do you need help? Is it at open houses? Like, are you not converting at open houses? Like, hey, I have some great open house conversion, sales tips that I can give you. You want to role play it? Like, do you want me to show you how to do it? Like, providing value to make their job easier, better is going to work. Another one, if you're looking to generate leads right now, for any house that has been sitting on the market longer than 40 days, right? Creating a presentation for that agent and have them share it with the seller of the house. Hey guys, I put this presentation together for you. I know you don't know who I am. I see that your house has been on the market for 41 days, right? I think that, obviously you could keep lowering the price, but here's a suggestion. I don't know if anyone's made it before. If you offered a 5% credit rather than a 10% reduction, here's what it would mean for you. Here's what it would mean for the buyer. If you have any questions about this, I'd be more than happy to help you with this strategy. So I'm doing stuff like that, like looking for opportunities where I don't even know the people, but I'm reaching out to them. I'm sending them a mortgage coach total cost analysis showing here's if you get what you want. Here's if you lower it 10%, which was where it will probably sell. Here's if you give a 5% credit, meaning that the buyer gets what they want, as well as you get a little bit more than you would have had to given up. Finding ways, the serve keeps coming up, ways that you can serve is how you're going to generate leads. It's not internet leads, in my opinion. It's not, I don't do that, so I can't speak to it. But it's really just in connection and solving problems.
Fantastic answer. Fantastic. I want to go back to very early in this conversation of something you said about being a people pleaser. And you would reference the fact that you're still a people pleaser, but you're coming from a different place in pleasing. And we kind of went down various other forks in the road, but it struck me that that's an important topic for us to unpack a little bit more. Share more about that.
Yeah. So I used to be a people pleaser for myself to make myself feel good, about myself. And that's rooted in all kinds of young stuff of not maybe getting what I wanted, needed from relationships, stuff like that early on in my life. And I found a lot of value in just being noticed. Right. And so that is was something I struggled with for a long time. And when you're a people pleaser, like, it doesn't ever go away. It's like, it's something that like you have, but I want to please people right now because it's for them. It's not for, I'm not looking for anything anymore. Like, I'm not looking for validation that I'm good enough or I did a great job or a high five. Like, I want people to be pleased because they had a good interaction with me. They knew I was present and knew I was focused on them and that my intentions are awesome. Like, that's enough for me right now. So I'm not looking for validation is what it comes down to anymore of like, I'm good enough, like, because this person said they liked me. I'm not looking to be liked anymore. And I'm not even really looking to be respected. I'm just looking to be. And when you can get to a point where you can just be, like, dude, it's freaking awesome. And then you're doing things. And I love to make people happy, but I'm doing it for them now. I'm being generous because I want to be generous for them. Like, I know that they'll feel, maybe I treat people to an experience that I know they wouldn't do, right? Like, on their own. I'm not doing that like for me I used to do it for me. Like I used to, I didn't say I did, but I realize now that I was doing that for validation. I was doing that for attention. I was doing that to maybe they'll like me more, like whatever it might be. I'm just, you have to, if you are a people pleaser, like you have to be a people pleaser because you want it for the other person. Like you're not wanting it for yourself. So that's what I came to on my own.
And how did you come to that on your own? And how do you know what place you're actually coming from inside yourself as it relates to this topic?
So no expectations is the phrase, right? Like, when I'm giving, I love to be generous, for the record. Like, it makes me feel great, and it's okay for it to make me feel great as long as I'm not attaching an expectation of how someone else should behave, react, whatever. It's okay to, if you're that person, it's okay. Like, it makes me feel, you know how many times I've told someone, they're like, dude, you shouldn't have done that. I'm like, listen, I wanted to. It's as simple as that. Like, I just wanted to do it. So, I don't know what happened, honestly. A lot of my life, I don't know exactly what happened, besides that my wife, I'm going to bring up again, has been very instrumental in bringing this particular thing up a lot of times over a long period of time, where she's like, what are you doing? And like, I'm not even conscious of it. Right. But I really just want to do things that make me feel good, but make me feel good for other people. Because I know that if I'm doing something that I want to do, and I'm doing it from a place of no expectation on what I get, zero expectation on what I get back, like, you're coming from a really solid, loving place usually.
Try this on. My experience as it relates to this topic, and maybe not the people pleasing, although, so like my number one love language, it sounds like it might be yours too, is acts of service. Is that, did you?
No, mine's, I don't even know what it is anymore. It was verbal praise, which was a problem. That's people pleasing, right? Like, I wanted praise. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Words of affirmation.
Mm-hmm.
So I always know when the place that I'm coming from within myself isn't pure, when I'm triggered, if I don't get the experience that I'm looking for. So if I'm people pleasing somebody, if I'm giving something to somebody and they don't thank me for it, or they don't acknowledge me for it in some way, then, and I feel triggered, then I know, oh, okay, so it wasn't pure. Because if I was just purely giving for the sake of giving, because it makes me feel good to serve and help other people, their acknowledgement would mean nothing to me. So to me, it's always that cue, that's the cue, is that like, if your cage is rattled, then you know, oh, okay, you had an agenda here. That's that attachment to the result that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Beautiful, bro. Beautiful. Okay. Final question. And I like to ask this of most of my guests. So current Jeremy Forcier gets to have an opportunity to have a conversation with 18-year-old Jeremy Forcier. What would you want to share with him? What advice would you give him?
Oh man, I don't know what just happened to me. Like, to hearing that, even thinking about it, gets me really emotional. Just that you're enough, man. Like, you're literally enough. I spent such, I spent such a long time, like, trying to convince everyone I was good enough, like, to have a seat at the table or to do the things I wanted to do. And I just wasted so much time, and I wasted so much energy. That would be the number one thing I would say, is that, dude, you can do whatever you want, and you're enough, no matter what it is. Like, you're enough. It doesn't matter what other people tell you can do or not do. And even if they don't think you, none of that matters. Like, what matters is that you believe in you and that you are enough. Like, you don't need to do things for other people to prove, that you belong. Like you don't have to. Like that would be the number one thing is that I think I messed up a lot of relationships along the way from trying to be something I wanted someone else to be, and that never works because your true self is always going to come out anyway, and you're just like, dude, you're enough, and it's okay to not be in like 100 deep relationships. It's not even possible. Like it's not possible. And I think that I tried to be in such deep relationships for acceptance for so long that like I didn't have any relationships like that were really real. And that's what I would tell my younger self is like protect the people that you care about. Like hang around with the right people that are cheering you on and that will be honest with you, but that want to see you win and that aren't comparing your wins to their losses or their wins to your losses, but that they're just happy for you when you're winning, and when you're losing, that they're there for you and that they are open and want to help you. They just want to see you live a joyful life. Okay. Like that's what I would tell my younger self is that you're enough, be around the right people, pursue the people you want to be around. It is work. And just don't ever quit on your dreams. Just keep going.
I thank you, first of all. And I'm really glad I asked you that question. I just recently, literally yesterday, read a quote from Brene Brown, who I'm sure you know who she is.
Yeah, she's awesome.
She's incredible. And the quote was this, and I think it's particularly appropriate to what you just shared. Worthiness is not something that you earn.
Yeah.
It's something that you remember.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you remembered that. And maybe you needed to go through those years in your early and mid 20s, late 20s, whatever it was, to then awaken to the knowing that you're worthy just as you are and that you don't have to do anything to prove it. Yeah. And I'm happy, and I'm really happy for you that you have arrived there, my friend.
It's cool. It's a forever work in progress for sure. Right. But yeah, that it's really just important. I mean, I say it so much to people that I'm helping that people reach out to me all the time, and I'm pretty generous with like the people that I want to help. And I can't tell how many times I've said you're enough to people. And it's funny because I always remind them that, hey, just so you know, I'm telling myself that every time I tell you that. Like I need to remind myself on a weekly basis that I'm enough so that I don't go into bad habit patterns, right? And try to take shortcuts and try to do all the things. Like it's really important to know. So thanks for having me on, man. This was absolutely incredible.
You were terrific. I have zero doubt that everybody that listened to this episode feels the same way. You are a projector. Earlier, you said that I'm gifted with my languaging or whatever. That was just a projection because you're so extraordinarily articulate. And whoever told you when you were younger.
Oh, well, thanks, man.
Out of their mind, whoever said that to you. I mean, yeah. Not to mention the fact that you just have a really easy to listen to voice. And I just so appreciate your time. I'm so glad that we did this because I know that you helped a ton of people today. And I want to say thank you.
Well, thank you, man. Thanks for being my original mentor from afar. It's fun to have this come full circle.
And thank you, everybody, for listening. We've got a bunch of stuff we'll put in the show notes for you. And I wish everyone success over the next couple of weeks before the next episode. Thanks a lot. Goodbye, everyone.